I am Nadine Murphy, the sister of Audie L. Murphy, the most decorated hero of World War II.
The Audie Murphy mystery, finally solved, and isn't good. He was small, quiet, and often hungry, a Texas farm boy with little more than grit in his pockets. No one looking at Audie Murphy in the 1930s could have guessed that this frail, 5'5" orphan would one day become the most decorated soldier in American history. But sometimes heroes are forged not in privilege, but in pain. Born Audie Rion Murphy on June 20th, 1925 in Kingston, Texas, he was the seventh of 12 children in a struggling sharecropping family barely surviving the Great Depression. His father walked out when Audie was just a boy, and by 16, his mother had passed away, leaving him to care for his younger siblings alone. With only a 5th grade education, he took whatever odd jobs he could find, his childhood replaced by the hard lessons of survival. That hardship carved something unbreakable inside him, a quiet resolve that would one day stun the world. In 1942, at just 17, Murphy tried to enlist in the military, only to be turned away by the Navy and the Marines for being too small, too light, too young. But Audie didn't give up. The Army finally accepted him, and that decision would change history. Over the course of World War II, this undersized Texan fought with ferocity across North Africa, Italy, France, and Germany. His courage was legendary. On January 26, 1945, near Holtzwar, France, he stood alone against an entire company of German troops, wounded, outnumbered, and outgunned, and refused to back down. For over an hour, Audie Murphy held the line by himself, transforming from an overlooked farm boy into an American legend. It was a moment that would define courage itself. Surrounded by chaos, smoke, and fire, Audie Murphy didn't run. He climbed onto a burning tank destroyer, seized its .50 caliber machine gun, and unleashed fury on advancing enemy forces. As bullets tore through the air, he called in artillery strikes with unshakable precision, holding his ground against overwhelming odds. That act of sheer bravery earned him the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military distinction, at just 19 years old. By the war's end, Murphy's uniform gleamed with every U.S. combat award for valor available at the time. The Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, the Bronze Star, and 3 Purple Hearts. In all, he amassed 33 awards and decorations from both the U.S. and Allied nations, becoming the most decorated American soldier of World War II. But when the guns fell silent, another battle began, one inside his mind. Returning a hero, Murphy faced the invisible wounds of war. He suffered from what was then called battle fatigue, now known as PTSD. Instead of hiding his pain, he chose to speak out, one of the first public figures to raise awareness about the emotional toll of combat and the struggles veterans faced long after the war ended. Hollywood soon came calling. Murphy turned his real-life heroism into on-screen legend, starring in over 40 films, including To Hell and Back, 1955, a gripping portrayal of his own wartime story. Though the cameras rolled and fame followed, the young soldier-turned-actor never stopped fighting for those who wore the uniform, proving that true heroism doesn't end when the war does. He didn't just relive his story, he became it. In a bold move few actors would dare, Audie Murphy stepped back into the boots of his wartime self, portraying his real-life heroisms on the silver screen. The result? A box office triumph that turned the humble soldier into a Hollywood icon. Yet even with fame at his feet, Murphy never saw himself as a great actor. He carried the same quiet humility that had defined him on the battlefield. Off-screen, Murphy's creativity knew no bounds. He ventured into songwriting, crafting heartfelt country and western tunes that caught the attention of stars like Dean Martin and Charlie Pride. Then came 1957, his breakout year in the western Night Passage, where he held his own beside legends James Stewart and Dan Duryea. By 1959, Murphy was unstoppable. He headlined 3 westerns in one year, each revealing a new side of his growing talent. For a man who once fought for survival in the trenches, Audie Murphy had now conquered another frontier, Hollywood's wild, unpredictable West. In a dazzling turn that proved he was far more than just a war hero, Audie Murphy lit up the screen in The Wild and the Innocent, starring opposite the radiant Sandra Dee. Their undeniable chemistry gave the film a spark of freshness, an enchanting dance between purity and rugged wilderness. But Murphy wasn't content to simply act. He wanted to create. Quietly stepping behind the camera, he took on an uncredited role as co-producer for Cast a Long Shadow, working alongside the legendary Walter Mirisch. It was a move that hinted at his growing power in Hollywood, a man no longer confined to the frame, but shaping it. Then came the moment that made critics sit up and take notice. No name on the bullet. Here, Murphy shed his heroic image to play a cold, calculating gun for hire, and he did it with haunting precision. The taut, suspenseful Western drew praise for its psychological depth and Murphy's unexpectedly layered performance, solidifying his reputation as one of the genre's most intriguing leading men. But Murphy wasn't finished breaking boundaries. In 1960, he brought his quiet magnetism to the small screen, starring alongside the incomparable Thelma Ritter in the Startime episode The Man. His performance revealed a natural charm that translated effortlessly to television, expanding his reach to living rooms across America. And just when Hollywood thought it had defined him, Murphy reminded everyone of the soldier within. In the early 1960s, he lent his time and talent to The Big Picture, a U.S. Army television series. For 3 memorable episodes, he didn't just appear, he embodied the spirit of duty and patriotism that had defined his life, once again proving that for Audie Murphy, the spotlight was never about fame, it was about purpose. At the peak of his post-war fame, Audie Murphy wasn't just a war hero turned movie star. He was becoming a creative force, shaping Hollywood's golden age of westerns. In 1960, his tireless dedication earned him the Outstanding Civilian Service Medal, one of the U.S. Army's highest honors for non-active personnel. That same year, he fronted the gripping television episode Broken Bridge, a remarkable blend of military realism and entertainment. Traveling across Germany, Italy, Turkey, and even New Mexico, Murphy brought audiences face to face with cutting-edge weaponry and military innovation, turning what could have been routine propaganda into riveting storytelling. Behind the camera, Murphy's artistic instincts were flourishing. His collaboration with writer Claire Huffaker proved electric, producing 2 major 1961 hits, 7 Ways from Sundown and Posse from Hell. These films showcased not just Murphy's grit and gunslinging charm, but also the emotional depth that set him apart from other Western icons. Another key partnership came with Willard W. Willingham and his wife Mary Willingham, 2 of Murphy's closest Hollywood allies. Their creative chemistry was undeniable. Willingham produced Murphy's 1961 TV series Whispering Smith and co-wrote Battle at Bloody Beach, a tense wartime adventure that echoed Murphy's own battlefield heroics. The trio's collaboration rode strong into the mid-1960s with Bullet for a Bad Man and Arizona Raiders 1965, films that cemented Murphy's reputation as a Western legend. The Willingham's final gift to his career was the screenplay for Gunpoint and 40 Guns to Apache Pass, 1967, marking Murphy's last starring role in the genre that made him immortal. Even as the cowboy era began to fade, Audie Murphy's legacy blazed brighter than ever, an enduring testament to courage, creativity, and the rare power of authenticity in Hollywood. He wasn't afraid to cross borders, literally and creatively. In 1966, Audie Murphy packed his bags and headed to Israel to film Trunk to Cairo, proving he wasn't just America's favorite cowboy hero, he was an actor eager to explore uncharted territory, both on-screen and off. But perhaps the most unexpected twist in his career came not from a film set, but a boxing ring. Inside Terry Hunt's athletic club, Murphy met director Bud Boticher, an encounter that would ignite a creative partnership lasting nearly 20 years. Murphy had casually asked him to be his boxing partner, not knowing he was about to spar his way into one of the most defining collaborations of his career. Their first project together, The Cimarron Kid, gave Murphy the starring role and Bottcher his first Western, a match made in Hollywood heaven. The film's success laid the groundwork for a series of gritty, authentic Westerns that became their signature. Their bond stood the test of time. In 1969, Bottcher penned A Time for Dying, which would tragically become Murphy's final film, a bittersweet finale to their long creative journey. Plans for future projects like A Horse for Mr. Barnum and When There's Something to Do were left unrealized, leaving fans forever wondering what magic the duo might have created next. Off-screen, Murphy's life was a stark contrast to his on-screen heroics, filled with both love and turbulence. In 1949, he married actress Wanda Hendricks, one of Hollywood's rising stars. Their union made headlines. The decorated war hero and the glamorous starlet seemed like a perfect match. But behind the flashbulbs, the reality was far more complex. Hollywood's relentless pressure, Murphy's hidden battle with post-traumatic stress from his war years, and the strain of living under constant public scrutiny all chipped away at their relationship. What began as a storybook romance slowly unraveled, revealing that even heroes aren't immune to heartbreak.
Love, loss, and the relentless search for peace, Audie Murphy's personal life was as dramatic as his films. After 2 turbulent years of trying to salvage his marriage, Murphy and Wanda Hendricks officially divorced in 1951, closing a chapter that had been both a love story and a public spectacle. But what stunned everyone was what happened next. Just 4 days after the ink on his divorce papers dried, Murphy married again, this time to Pamela Opal Lee Archer, a serene former airline stewardess whose quiet grace stood in sharp contrast to the whirlwind glamour of his first wife. Their love bloomed fast, almost recklessly so. But for Murphy, it wasn't about timing, it was about survival. Pamela's calm, nurturing presence gave him something he had long craved: stability. She became the steady anchor in a life often rocked by fame, trauma, and internal battles. Together, they built the kind of home Murphy had always dreamed of but never known, a true family. Their union brought 2 sons into the world: Terry Michael, born in 1952, who would later step into the entertainment world himself, and James Shannon, who grew up under the immense shadow of his father's legacy. For once, Murphy's story wasn't about war or Hollywood lights. It was about finding peace in the simple, grounding love of a woman who saw the man behind the medals. Unlike his first marriage, this one endured, giving Murphy something rarer than fame: a lasting sense of belonging. Pamela wasn't just Audie Murphy's wife, she was his anchor in a storm that few could weather. Behind the medals, fame, and Hollywood lights stood a woman who quietly held together the fractured pieces of a war hero's heart. She became his confidant, his calm in the chaos, helping him face the relentless shadows of trauma, chronic pain, and public scrutiny. Through her strength and the love of their 2 sons, Murphy found something he had long been denied: stability. For a man who had known nothing but battle, both on and off the field, Pamela's steady presence brought a rare sense of peace. Yet that peace would not last forever, because behind the calm of family life lay a storm that would one day reclaim him. For decades, the circumstances surrounding Audie Murphy's death, America's most decorated World War II hero turned Hollywood star, have been cloaked in mystery and speculation. Everyone knew the story of how a poor Texas farm boy rose to immortal fame through courage and grit. But the question that haunted generations was this: what really happened on the day he died? Now, after years of rumors and half-truths, new evidence has come to light. it finally reveals the truth about Murphy's final moments, a truth far darker and more unsettling than anyone dared imagine. Officially, the story was simple. On May 28, 1971, Audie Murphy's life ended in a tragic plane crash on Brush Mountain near Catawba, Virginia. But as investigators would later uncover, nothing about that crash was as straightforward as it seemed. It was supposed to be a routine flight, a quick hop aboard a small, twin-engine Aero Commander. But somewhere over the mist-shrouded mountains, tragedy struck. The plane went down hard, vanishing into the fog and silence. Official reports would later blame the crash on pilot error and poor visibility. But for many, that explanation never sat right. How could a man who survived the bloodiest battles of World War II die so mysteriously at just 45 years old? Soon, whispers began to spread. Some said it wasn't an accident at all, that Audie Murphy, a national hero, war legend, and Hollywood star, had become entangled in secrets too dangerous to keep. Theories spiraled. A hit ordered by intelligence agencies, revenge from business rivals, even ties to organized crime. And the more people looked, the stranger things appeared. Why was the plane flying so low over treacherous terrain? Why did witness reports conflict? And why were key pieces of the wreckage never found? For decades, the truth of that crash has lingered in shadows, half buried beneath official reports, half alive in conspiracy. While Murphy's family has always maintained it was a tragic accident, others believe his final flight carried secrets the world was never meant to uncover. What if Audie Murphy's death wasn't an accident at all? For decades, the story of his fatal plane crash was accepted as tragic misfortune, a hero lost to bad weather and pilot error. But new revelations are turning that narrative on its head. The absence of concrete evidence has always left the truth dangling just beyond reach, a mystery that shadowed Murphy's legacy. Now, armed with cutting-edge forensic tools and newly declassified documents, a team of independent investigators has reopened the case, and what they've uncovered is chilling. Their findings point not to error, but to intent. Fragments of the wreckage revealed signs of deliberate tampering, wires cut, controls rerouted, systems sabotaged. Even more disturbing, fresh testimony from long silent witnesses and retired officials suggests Murphy had been under quiet surveillance in the months leading up to the crash. Could the nation's most decorated war hero have been silenced? And if so, by whom? For decades, the world believed Audie Murphy's death was a tragic accident until a whistleblower shattered that illusion. After years of silence, this insider came forward with a stunning claim. Murphy had uncovered classified details about covert government operations, information so explosive it made him a threat to powerful forces operating in the shadows. According to this testimony, what the public was told was a plane crash was in reality a meticulously staged cover-up designed to silence him forever. The implications are nothing short of chilling. Audie Murphy, the decorated war hero who faced death on the battlefield with courage, may have been betrayed in peacetime by the very powers he once served. The narrative of a hero lost to misfortune now morphs into something darker, a story of conspiracy, betrayal, and calculated elimination. For Murphy's family, the revelations have reopened old wounds. Years of unanswered questions and quiet grief have given way to outrage and a renewed demand for justice. He gave everything for his country, only to be betrayed in return, one family member reportedly said. Historians and military analysts are now re-examining Murphy's legacy, questioning how this new, unsettling truth fits into the tense fabric of Cold War America, an era when Hollywood and government agencies often shared uneasy alliances, and when those who knew too much sometimes met untimely ends. The mystery surrounding Murphy's death, once shrouded in tragedy, now looms as a haunting symbol of how even heroes can become casualties of silence.
The shocking truth behind Audie Murphy's death doesn't bring closure. It rips the lid off of Pandora's box of deceit, power, and betrayal. What the world once accepted as a tragic accident now looks more like a calculated silencing of a national hero. Beneath the medals and glory lies a darker reality, one where even the bravest soldier can become the target of forces far more sinister than any he faced on the battlefield. The full story may never surface, but the fragments that have emerged are enough to forever stain the legend of America's most decorated war hero.